A level 1 gamer hates looking in the mirror every time he takes a shower. He wears baggy clothes to hide his fat. He doesn't take off his shirt at the pool or beach. He's self conscious about his body whenever he's with his girlfriend and he thinks she's going to leave him. Or he feels that no lady would ever love him because of his body. He feels like he catches people wrinkling their nose in disgust or they move away from him. But the level 100 gamer, this gamer smiles every time he takes off his shirt. He notices ladies checking him out at the beach and the pool, and he feels confident about this. His girlfriend loves running her hands up and down his body. Guys give him fist bumps at the gym. He loves wearing tight clothes that fit his body and his arms perfectly. He's proud of who he is and the body that he's built. So when I was young, I had always wanted to build muscle. For me, I knew that muscle meant popularity and muscle meant girls, but I could never figure out how to. I worked out through 4 years of college, but barely gained any muscle. And I worked out in 4 years of med school, and I mainly just got fat because I thought you had to eat big to get big. And it wasn't until my late residency, around like 28 years old, that I finally figured out the secret to getting an incredible aesthetic body. But now I look back and I'm like, I wasted all this time. Imagine if I'd had this body in college or med school. How different would my health, my confidence, and my social life have been back then? Did I miss out on better friends, better relationships because my body wasn't at its peak? And so I'm writing this post, I'm making this video so that you don't make the same mistakes that I did. And so this guide is for beginners to get a specifically an attractive aesthetic physique. It's for skinny fat guys or for fat guys to get lean and muscular. Like think about Geralt of Rivia from Witcher. It's not for bodybuilders, it's not for runners, it's not for advanced lifters or power lifters. And this is for the lifting noob or intermediate, the guy who's stuck for years not noticing any kind of difference. And so, if you want a lean, shredded body year round while enjoying gaming and eating whatever you want, this is the guy for you. So, a big caveat is that you should not feel ashamed for wanting this body. There's a movement in society that tells people it's okay to be fat, health at every size, fat acceptance, dad bods, or that it's shallow and vain to have this pursuit. But I say screw all that. A lot of people just want others to be okay with their poor choices and they want to play the victim card. Yes, some people have eating disorders. I've worked with those patients. And so this article isn't for them. So the scientific evidence is clear that obesity is bad for our health, even from a aesthetic or a social perspective, right? Chris Hemsworth, Jason Momoa, these guys get all the attention in Hollywood. It's not Jack Black or Seth Rogen, right? As guys, we feel jealous of these jacked guys who are living amazing lives, and I don't think that we should feel guilty for that. This is just how the world works. And so, my view is that we don't complain about it, we understand it, and we get to work. So the core first principle of this is weightlifting. You have to lift weights. There's no ifs, thens, or buts about it. And so in high school, I would sometimes go to the gym in the evenings with my parents. And like one day I would do a hot yoga class. Another day I would run on the treadmill. Next week, like the next week, I would play racquetball with my friend. And then other days I'd walk around like literally using random machines like the bicep curl or the ab machine. And then I'd wonder like why wasn't I getting any bigger like the guys on the football team? It's because I wasn't tracking my weight, like I wasn't progressing, and we'll get into that. And so we have to be in the gym lifting weights and lifting weights consistently. I wasn't consistent. I was just doing random stuff day by day. And so lifting is the single greatest thing that's known to man. I would rather have the gym than make $1 million a year. And I 100% mean that. And so, yes, I know that some people do body weight stuff, but that's the exception, not the rule. I don't know much about that, so I'm not going to comment. But the number one mistake that noobs make in the gym is that we don't have a structured plan. Like I remember in college, I would show up whenever I felt like it, or work out whatever I felt like, or hit chest again with the boys, right? There wasn't any progress. There wasn't any consistency, the same workouts over and over again and tracking progress. That's what we call progressive overload. Let me repeat, that is what we call progressive overload. And it is the single most important concept in building muscle. That means that we gaining strength over time on the same exercise. So the weight is increasing on the bar over weeks and months and years. We're also increasing the reps with the same amount of weight. We are improving our form with the same weight and the same amount of reps, or we're decreasing the rest that we have with the same weight and reps. So basically, we are tracking our performance on each exercise, and it gets better and better with time. So, for example, right? Let me give you an example. So, let's say for bench press, you can lift 95 pounds for 8 reps, and we do 3 sets of this. Then the second week, we can lift 100 pounds for 8 reps. Last week, we only did 95. Then, say the third week, we can only do 100 pounds, but we get to 9 reps this time. And then the next week, fourth week, we do 100 pounds and we get to 10 reps. And then week five, we keep the 100 pounds, we keep the 10 reps, but we do it with absolute perfect form. Last week, we had to struggle a bit. Our form may have suffered, but this time we do it with perfect form. And then let's say we've gone our 8 to 10 rep range, we've completed that. So now, week six, we go up to 105 pounds and do that at 8 reps. And so, do you see the progression? We are either increasing the weight, the reps, or our form along the time of the exercise. And that's the thing that weightlifting, it's we are training. We're not exercising just to feel the pump or just to burn some calories. That's not the goal. We are trying to perform with every exercise. And that's the number one mindset shift we should have doing this. So, how often should we lift? And so, when I was younger, a big mistake that I made was actually lifting too much while trying to reduce body fat. So, when I was bulking, I would work out like 5, 6 days a week while I was overeating, like to make gains. And yeah, I definitely gained strength when I was doing that. But then when I was trying to cut down body fat, we had to reduce our calories. And so when I reduced my calories, I kept losing strength. And like that's the most disheartening thing because like literally I gained strength and I kept losing strength. And by the time I've been cut down fat like 6 months later, like I felt like I like looked the same because I gained strength when I was bulking and then I lost strength when I was cutting. And so all these fitness YouTubers told me that you're gonna lose a ton of strength when you cutting, and I believed them. And so I just thought it was normal. But instead, when I cut back my workout to 3 to 4 times per week, like every other day, basically working out every other day, I felt rested every session. I gained strength on my lifts even while I was cutting, and like I was losing my body fat at the same time. And so like that's the thing that is actually possible. I was gaining muscle while losing fat, and I knew that I was gaining muscle because I was getting stronger in the gym. And that's the realization that I made was that 3 to 4 solid workouts per week with excellent performance outbeats like 6 workouts per week with moderate performance anytime. And so the question is, right, like what kind now the next question is what kind of workouts should we do? And so when we're starting out, we should always focus on compound movements. And so compound movements work out multiple muscles with just one exercise. And they also generate the most testosterone too. So these should be the foundation of any muscle building program. So there's a ton of programs out there, but the foundation of it, the core exercises should always be compound movements. For example, squats, deadlifts, like overhead shoulder press, bench press, pull ups, rows, anything that works out multiple muscles with one exercise. But if we're trying to get an aesthetic body, a hot body, then we also need isolation exercises focusing on these muscles. So these are isolations for our neck, our lateral delts, our shoulders, the upper part of our chest, our arms, our back, and our forearms, and our abs. And so that's what gives us that sexy V taper, the wide shoulders, the narrow waist. That's what gives us that aesthetic body that we want. So like go think about Geralt of Rivia, like look at his picture, like that's what he looks like. And I'm not going to include a specific workout here because there's literally thousands of workouts to choose from online, just thousands. So the most important thing is to pick one and to stay consistent. I might link my workout in the description, but that's just one workout. There's so many that you can do, and this is just one that I'm doing right now, and I'm sure that I'll be changing to in the years to come. And so, if I got to give you a pro tip, it's to stay away from powerlifting workouts. So, these are ones that are purely compound based for the most part and purely designed for strength. They're the ones in the lower rep ranges from like 1 to 3 to 5 reps. So, these guys lift for strength and that's their own thing. But we're trying to lift for aesthetics to get a nice, attractive body. So, for that, we'll be training in the 5 to 15 rep range. So look for workouts that have that 5 to 15 rep range exercises. And of course, if you want me to personally coach you through a plan, you can go ahead and apply for a free consult call. We can talk about it. So now the question is how hard should we work? This is a thing that a lot of people struggle with. So when I was in my lifting journey, the lift that I've been stuck on for years was bench press. And so I remember my bench wasn't going up after years. And like literally, I was like, why am I not getting stronger on this? I remember being in college and I remember asking one of my fraternity brothers, like, why? Like, I feel like I'm benching, but I'm not getting stronger. And so he watched me do it, right? And so then he was like, are you sure that's all you can do? And I was kind of dumbfounded because I was like, what do you mean? And so he was like, well, it doesn't look like you're pushing yourself very hard during this bench press. And look, he even suggested doing it twice a week, right? Which I didn't do. But the point was that he realized that I wasn't pushing myself nearly as hard as I could have been. I think I was scared that like the weight would be too heavy and I wouldn't be able to push it up anymore. And that was when I was still training for the burn or just training for the movement rather than actually like tracking progress. And so when we're doing these sets, we have to make sure that we're challenging ourselves with each set. And the best way to track that is to measure what we call RPE, or its rate of perceived exertion. And actually a better way is to measure reps in reserve, RIR, which basically means how many reps do could I have done left, right? So let's say I'm bench pressing, and I felt like I could still do like 5 more reps, then I'm not challenging myself there. But if I'm bench pressing and I feel like, oh man, I could literally maybe do 1 rep more, but I would definitely need help with it, then like that's a good place to start. Like I was just doing bicep curls yesterday and I got to 9 reps on 30 with 30 pounds. And like the ninth one, I was able to do, but then on the 10th rep, like I knew like there was no point in doing because like I would really, really, really struggle, and I would have to either like cheat or like really like jack up the form, and like that's not what we want, right? But this is a good way to track because we know we're actually challenging our muscle. So be sure that you're working. 1 to 2 is a really good marker to have, where you could only do maybe 1 or 2 more reps, and that's how you know you're challenging yourself. Oh, and another thing is that going to failure is completely overrated, in my opinion. So we ruin our future set performance by going to failure. So let's say I do 3 sets, right? And then like I go to failure, like I just push it hard on the first set. I'm gonna weaken my second and third sets on that. And because they're weakened, I don't get the optimal performance out of those sets. And then I won't gain as much muscle. Whereas if I had maintained good, if I had maintained 1 to 2 reps in reserve for each set. And so, how important is our form? And this is one of the most embarrassing times in my lifting career was that I remember I loaded up 205 pounds on the squat rack, thinking I'm super strong. And I had a few reps that I was coming up, but as I'm coming up, I literally couldn't come up anymore. And so like I'm like raising and then I end up falling, and like the weight literally falls on the squat rack. So like thankfully I didn't get injured, but like that slam, like everyone around the gym saw, and like they looked at me, and I went back to whatever they're doing. But then so I had to literally I had the squat rack under me, and so I had to duck under the bar and then unrack all the weights so that way I could lift up the bar and then put it back on the rack. And so what happened was that I got cocky, where I was like, oh, I can lift all this weight. And then my form suffered. And because my form suffered, uh, I couldn't complete the exercise. And this is the key, especially with guys, when guys lift, is that they try to challenge each other, they try to show off to each other, right? And we want to lift more weight so that we can show off to our friends, but like that causes injury, and it actually causes less gains because we're not stimulating the muscle properly. And so overall, that's a completion of the diet or the lifting part. And now we're going to talk about diet because this is just as important as lifting. I know we hear it all the time. Abs are made in the kitchen, right? And I will explain to you exactly why that is. And so, just a caveat is that this section is not for people with eating disorders. So, if you're struggling with anorexia, bulimia, avoidant food, intake restrictive disorder, right? Any kind or any medical complications from eating. So this section is not for you. It's not for those people, right? You those people might have their own specialized needs um, that are best addressed with an adolescent medicine doctor and a dietitian, etc. So when I was younger, I thought that eating a lot was the only way to gain muscle. So I was tracking my calories and I was eating over 3,000 calories a day, and I got fat. But then like when I got fat, I would spend like a year trying to cut down again. And at the end of it, I barely noticed any more muscle, and it spent like 6 months out of that year being fat. Like I literally had my face was rounder. Like I looked at one of my old uh, medical school photos, and like literally my face, instead of like an oval, it was a circle. And so that made me feel like I wasted years of my life. And yeah, this is why it's so important. I want to stress to you guys that this stress to you, my brother, that not dieting, you don't have to eat a lot to gain muscle. So think about like if lifting is the car's acceleration, your diet is the steering wheel. It decides like the direction that we go in. So if we eat more than our maintenance calories, we gain weight. And if we eat less than our maintenance calories, we lose weight. Maintenance is how many calories we burn per day. And so weightlifting provides a stimulus that the weight gain that we do have becomes muscle and not fat. And so I wish I'd known this earlier because that's the mistake I made for years was going on these bulk then cut then bulk then cut for these cycles. And so now my philosophy is completely different. Like I want to stay lean year round and slowly add muscle, like over time. And so that way I'm always happy looking in the mirror. So the question is, right, how much should we eat? And so the first step is to calculate our maintenance calories or TDEE, which is our total daily energy expenditure. So we all burn calories at rest, just chilling. Like when we're not exercising, when we're just doing our day by day, like our body needs calories, burns calories to move. And so this is our body doing its natural life sustaining processes, right? And so when we eat less than this, our bodies tap into stored energy that we have, which is our fat reserves to fuel ourselves. So think about it like think about fat as a bank account for energy. Just like we have money in the bank that we can withdraw from and spend, we have energy in our fat reserve bank that we can draw from to spend. And we do that when we don't have uh, enough energy that we eat for our life sustaining processes. And so I have a calculator that's uploaded. It's completely free. You can check it out on my blog or in the description here. And basically, you choose sedentary for your activity level and choose maintain for your weight loss goal. And so this will tell you approximately how many calories you burn just chilling at rest, not doing anything. And the way to really lose weight is to eat less than you're burning. And a good number is 300 to 500 calories less than maintenance per day, which leads to a weight loss of about zero point 0.5 to 1 pound. I found that if you shoot greater than this, then your our calories get or sorry, we start feeling a lot more hungry. We give into cravings. Our mood gets miserable. And but like if you keep the deficit small, like 300 to 500, then we're still able to go about our day to day and still feel good, uh, and like have it be a lot more sustainable. So like slow and steady is better than like a crash diet and yo-yoing. Like a big problem that I used to have was when I was cutting down, like I would lose all of my sex drive. Like literally, I remember I was dating a girl at the time, and I would have no desire to have sex with her, or um, I would have difficulty having an erection, right? And it was because I was eating at such a low calorie amount um, for myself, right? I remember feeling cold all the time too. That was a big issue I was having, and I would be wearing sweaters in like May. So that's why it's better just do it slow and steady. That way you avoid all like the negative consequences that come with it. And so the next question, right, is that how do we know how much we're eating? So would you buy a plane ticket or like a vacation without knowing how much money you had in your bank account? No, right? Like or like get an expensive apartment without knowing if it fit into your budget for renting? No, right? Like it's the same thing. And so I remember I was I guess the weird guy who tracked my food for years. And my roommate would wonder like why I was weighing my pasta and meat and like why I would like put them all in separate categories and weigh it rather than just like dump it in and cook. I remember being in like family gatherings and like my let's say we had like a birthday or something, like my mom would give me a piece of cake and like I would literally measure out the piece and like how much I was eating, right? Or like or like measure the bowl and then put in a scoop of ice cream to measure how much the ice cream was. And I mean, it seems a little crazy, but the well, I loved it. And the reason I loved it was because it felt like a game. Like I knew exactly how many calories and how much protein I was getting in per day because I knew like how much I had to get in, right? And so because of this, it made my weight loss guaranteed. Like I knew for a fact that I was going to lose weight because I knew that I was consuming less calories than I was burning. Consuming, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because yeah, exactly, consuming less calories than I was burning. So I knew that. It was very satisfying to kind of see this and then see the result actually happen. And so you can easily keep track through an app like MyFitnessPal, My Net Diary, Lose It, etc. Like if we make our own meals, we can measure the ingredients that we have before cooking. And even this, if we have prepackaged foods, like we get some burgers or pasta or whatever, you can literally just scan the barcode. Or like frozen meal, you can scan the barcode and it puts it all into their database. Even if you go out, a lot of restaurants like Chipotle and other things, like their meals, they're all like standardized. So you can track them. If it's not that kind of restaurant, then you can still track it in and guesstimate to like, let's say I have like pasta and spinach, pasta and meatballs, right? And like, you know approximately what size it is so that you can put it into your app. And so this is the best part is that once you get good with tracking, then you don't have to do it anymore. Like you can like once I got good at it, I literally stopped doing it. Like I don't do it now. Now I can keep track in my head of approximately how many calories and protein I'm eating. And so this lets me really maintain a good level of physical fitness, but like also enjoying my life too. Like I don't need to be as stringent as it was, but I had to develop that skill. So, how do we know if our weight loss is working? So, in my weight loss phases, like or cutting, for example, there are times when I felt like my diet was great and I was making so much progress. But then, like, I would check the scale day to day, and like, let's say one day gained 3 pounds, or like 2 days later I lost 5 pounds. I was like, what the heck is happening? Like this makes no sense. I've noticed a lot of patients really struggle with this, where they're like doc, I gained like 3 pounds over the last 2 days. And so the thing is that to really learn, and then that's when I noticed that when I started tracking my weight um, daily, but then looking at the weekly averages, that's when I could see, okay, am I actually gaining weight or losing weight? Because when day by day, we have so many fluctuations. Like we drink too much water, we're stressed out, and we don't sleep as much. Uh, some days we might have more food, some days we might have less, right? Our hormones are out of whack. So like there's so many fluctuations, and but by tracking it week by week, that's what makes the difference. And so like what I do now is I track my weight every day in the mornings. So I track it every day in the mornings, and then uh, my weight calculator, it automatically tells me like what the my weekly average is. And so then I know, like looking over the course of weeks and months and years, like that's how you know if you're actually losing weight, is like by looking at the trend over time. So now our next question is, how do we not lose muscle while we're cutting? Because this is something that happened to me, especially when I was losing strength. I knew that I was losing some muscle too in the process. And it feels so like defeatist, or so demoralizing when we put in a year's worth of work. Let's say we spend 6 months, 8 months trying to bulk, and then the 4 6 months trying to cut, and you barely notice any difference at the end of it. It's like, what was the point of this whole year? And so the key to not losing any muscle while cutting is to keep lifting to maintain our strength and getting stronger. And so this is why I found that lifting 3 to 4 times a week was huge, because it minimized fatigue. It meant that I could perform at my best at every session by lifting every other day. And then my strength actually kept going up as I was cutting rather than going down. So that's the number one thing that I would recommend. Number two is also making sure that our protein intake is good. So when we're cutting, right, trying to lose weight, we I'm blanking. When we're cutting, we're trying to lose weight. We have to keep our protein intake good, because the reason is our body needs protein for all it's building all of our cells, right? Not just for muscles, but like all the different cells and its functions. And so where's it going to get the protein from? Our muscle. And so the way that we stop our body from getting protein from our muscle, which is a stored form of protein, is by making sure that we feed it enough through our diet, and by we're stimulating the muscle to uh, showing our body that we're actually using it, that we do need this. And so eating a 1 gram of pound, 1 gram of protein per body weight tends to be the number to shoot for. Zero point 0.8 grams to zero point 0.1, zero point 0.8 grams to 1 gram body weight of protein, you'll be fine with maintaining your muscle. And so this is where like supplements like protein powder, protein bars, etc., can come in helpful. Uh, when it's because it's hard to reach our numbers just to normal, right? Normal diet. And so note that this is based on our lean body mass and not our total mass. So let's say we are 200 pounds and we're at 20% body fat, right? Then we should be shooting for about 160 pounds of 160 grams of protein, not 200 grams, which is good because it makes it easier for us to get the protein we need. And so I mentioned like how difficult it was to like bulk and cut, right? So our goal is, but we want to stay lean and we want to do it all year round, right? And this is the secret that I have found over years of trying different diets, different exercises, like all these different uh, dietary strategies. Like I've done so much. But imagine this analogy. So imagine you have $50 a day that you can spend. So and then let's say we spend that on like a coffee, you buy a newspaper, you buy candy, you uh, get a sandwich for lunch, you go see a movie later, um, you buy a shirt, whatever, like things, right? The expenses. And then by the time that dinner rolls around, you only have money left for a Chipotle burrito. That's it. But now imagine, like, let's say that day you didn't spend anything. Maybe you just had a coffee in the morning and that's it. So, but now the dinner comes around, you have all that money that you saved up left for dinner. So now you can take yourself, your mom, your girlfriend to a nice dinner with that money and not even sweat it because you had it saved up, right? And so what my point is that the best method that I've found to manage my diet has been through intermittent fasting. And the reason is because what fasting does is that it limits our window that we can eat, like mentally. And so we have a limited window that we can eat. And so because we have this limited window that we can eat, it's really hard to overeat in that window. And then when we do eat, we get to have these huge, massive meals that feel good. Like you feel satiated. We feel like, wow, like I just ate like amazing. I ate like a king. Yet you're still losing weight. And like that's the amazing part about it. I remember early in my fitness journey, you always hear like eat throughout the day to keep the metabolic fire going, and like which is complete nonsense. But what does that do? What it does is it made me hungry all the time. Like I felt like I was a rabbit just like nibbling on food because I can only have like a small amount each time, which is never satisfying and it constantly just makes you feel hungry. So think about how our bodies evolved to eat, right? Like how our tribal hunting ancestors were. They would be fasted until they got a kill. And then when they got that big kill, they would bring it back to the tribe. They would feast on that. Like the whole tribe would eat. They'd have it around the campfire. And like they would party and song and dance and whatever, right? Eating this big meal. But then they can't eat again until they get their next kill. And so then they might go on for a day or a couple days or even a week without eating till they get their next big kill. And so this is how our bodies evolved to eat. Like fasting is something that is natural for us. It's only in the modern world that we've become convinced that, oh, we have to eat a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner, and if you don't eat for like 6 hours, then uh, blah blah blah. Which, keep in mind, like, this is all propaganda by uh, the food industry, right? If you look at the saying that breakfast is the healthiest meal of the day, do you know where that saying came from? A very small company you probably haven't heard of called Kellogg's popularized it in their advertising. So, I wonder what incentive a company called Kellogg's, who makes cereal, could have for spreading the message that breakfast is the healthiest meal of the day. So, to think about that, if you even just think about the word breakfast, break it up. It's break fast. It's literally when we break our fast. And so we've become accustomed to that in the morning because we sleep and then you wake up and that's when we're breaking our fast. But theoretically, breakfast, breaking our fast, can be any time of day. Yes, even just yesterday, I broke my fast with oatmeal after I worked out around like 2 p.m. So, like, that, and so because I was fasted all the rest of the time, that was my break fast. And so the way that I eat now is that I fast for about 18 to 22 hours per day, and I eat in a 2 to 6 hour window. So I might like eat a small meal, then work out, then eat a bigger meal after that, or I might uh, work out and then just eat one big meal after working out. Or if I'm not working out that day, I just have one or two meals depending on that day. And so the point of that is that that lets me have 1 to 2 huge meals per day where I feel satisfied, and yet I still stay in my calorie budget. And that's the amazing part about fasting, is that we get to have these huge satisfying meals, yet we're still not meeting our calorie limit, so we're actually going to lose weight. So it makes weight loss so simple. It's literally the best strategy that I have found. And the other benefit of this is that it lets me go out for dinners and weddings and celebrations with my friends, going out having drinks, all this stuff, because I know that I can fit all of these into my daily calorie budget. So let's say I had a wedding 2 months ago, right? And so when I had this wedding, I fasted for most of the day up until the wedding. Like, I had maybe like a little bit during the day, like an omelet or something, but that was it. And so what that did was, when I was at that wedding, I had like 1,800 calories that I could eat. So I could have drinks, I could have the food, I could have dessert without really stressing or even thinking about it. And I knew that I wouldn't gain weight from that event without feeling guilty, because I had such a budget of being able to eat during that wedding, so I could enjoy myself fully. And this is really the secret that I have found. And so now the question is, like, what should we eat, right? So of course this isn't an excuse to say, yeah, you can just eat pizza and burgers and fries and shit and be fine, right? No, we still want to have a healthy base. So what I do, my main diet is mainly like beans, lentils, chickpeas, rice, protein pasta, veggies, uh, oatmeal, soy milk, Quest protein bar. I eat mainly a vegetarian diet at home, and I'll have meat when I go out. But like, that's mainly what I eat. So it's like these healthy, like, staple foods, and these are what we call whole foods. For most of them, whole foods are foods that uh, whole foods are foods that only have a single ingredient. For example, if we look at potatoes, right? If you have a potato, the main ingredient for that is potato. But if you have like McDonald's French fries, then those are potatoes plus all these preservatives and crap in there, and like, that's the unhealthy stuff. And so By having a base of healthy foods to eat that are high in protein, that gives us a window where we can have other stuff on top of that and still really enjoy our diet. For example, let's say I burn 2,000 calories per day. I need to eat 2,000 calories per day, and I have 1,000 calories worth of protein, like through meats and chickpeas, lentils, or whatever. That leaves like 800,000 calories left to do whatever I want with. So I could have dessert, I could have a drink with my friends, I could enjoy nice pasta, whatever it is, right? And so it gives us the flexibility to do whatever we want with our diet and still lose the weight. So by far, this is the best strategy I've ever had. And uh, yes, it is so effective. And so if you want any help with your diet too, just reach out to me through my website, and we can definitely talk about it. And this is the last portion that I think is really important to having a lean body is sleep. So sleep is vital. When I was in college, I would stay up until 2 a.m. hanging out with our friends in the fraternity house and wake up for class at like 7 so I could get to class at 8 a.m. And I'd wonder why I wasn't making any gains. Like, sleep is where our torn muscle fibers recover. They're repaired, and that's when they become bigger. So sleep also recovers our fatigue too, so we can perform optimally while we're in the gym. So I've found for myself that if I don't sleep well on a workout day, then I I might actually push that workout to the next day and make sure I get a good night of sleep, so that way the workout is optimal too, where I can perform optimally. So not only is sleep important for our weight gain, like our muscle progress, right? Repairing the muscle, feeling and recovering the fatigue, feeling energized to perform in the gym, right? But what I've found is that sleep really impacts my cravings. So I remember one time I was at work, right? I didn't sleep well that day, like 4 or 5 hours. Like, it was just a bad night for me. And normally I fast in the mornings. But that day, all I was doing was just craving food. Like, I was just craving something. Like, I wasn't even hungry. It's like my taste buds were just craving it. And sleep also not only doesn't increase our cravings, but it reduces our willpower. So, and I felt like I had no willpower to resist those cravings. And so I literally remember going on DoorDash and ordering Chinese food or something, like something craving food. So I ordered the Chinese food. And then when I went home, I stopped by an Indian store and bought sweets and had some sweets. So you can see how not sleeping well just completely trashes our desire, our drive, and our cravings too. So that's why I feel like it's so important to get our sleep, and nobody ever talks about it. And so I'm gonna have a separate article where I can go into the complete sleep hygiene protocol of how to have an excellent night of sleep. And so let's say you follow all these steps, right? And now you are lean. So what do you do after getting lean? So congratulations, you have reached this point. And it's really hard. Most people don't get there. So congratulations if you are. But now let's say we are here, right? What do we do? So now it's much easier, because now all we have to do is just maintain our physique and add on muscle, right? And so because of that, what we can do is we can actually eat at a maintenance level. So let's say we burn 1,800 calories per day. Now I can eat, or let's say we burn 2,000 calories per day. Now I can eat at 2,000 instead of eating at like 1,600 as I was doing before. So because I can eat at 2,000, I have a lot more budget to enjoy things more. Uh, a lot of like the some of this negative health effects, like feeling cold, low sex drive, feeling tired, all those go away once we're eating at maintenance, right? And it makes our mood better. We're working out. We can have more strength in the gym. So all this is really good. And what I found now, though, the mistake that I made, I talked about, was bulking, right? Like, I would eat too much and then just gain fat again. But now what I do is I just maintain at my maintenance level. So let's say 2000 calories, and then keep working out. And that way keep gaining strength. And so I gain muscle slowly over time. But then the key is I might gain muscle slower than if I was bulking, but I don't get fat either because I'm eating at maintenance. And so that way it lets me maintain a lean physique year round and then slowly just adding muscle to it. So, in my opinion, this is completely the best way, slow and steady, to gain muscle and maintain that aesthetic body now. So, congratulations, we've made it to the end of this guide, and I hope this was helpful for you. So, just to summarize, right, our goal will be to lift 3 times per week, 3 to 4 times per week, mainly on compound movements. We're having include some isolations for aesthetic muscles, and the focus is on progressive overload, progressing in the gym over time. Each session, each workout is a training session. It's not for exercising to feel the burn or to get a pump or to burn calories. It's training. Next, for calories, so we want to eat at a 300 to 500 calorie deficit than our maintenance calories. So calculate your maintenance, eat less than that. Make sure you're getting your protein in about 1 gram per pound per day, and make sure the majority of your diet is whole foods. And because these are the healthy ones, but these are the most filling ones too. Next, for sleep, very important. Make sure we're sleeping 7 to 9 hours per night. This is for our cravings, our workout performance, as well as our general mood. Kind of going through this, and then once we reach 10%, 10 to 12% body fat, which is where we see our abs unflexed, then we switch over to main gaining, where we just eat at maintenance and continue lifting, progressing our strength, or we can eat at a lean bulk, which is a very slight surplus of like 200, 100, 200 calories, and we keep on progressing in the gym. And so just follow these principles, and I guarantee you, you will have your dream body. You'll start seeing results in like 3 to 6 months, and you'll have your dream body in like 2 to 3 years. And so just imagine guys coming up to you in the gym and giving you props. Imagine ladies smiling when you take your shirt off. Imagine all your friends being fit and ripped, and then you guys are hyping each other up in the gym or in public, right? Imagine your our girlfriend stopping one day and saying like, "Wow, like you look really good." Imagine feeling strong and capable every time we wake up. Imagine having a smile on our face every time we step into the mirror, every time we walk by. So this is what having an amazing body does for us. And so I know it's hard, man. I know that it can feel overwhelming, especially if we've never done this before, right? Or we've been trying, but it hasn't worked out. And so the truth is that there's a lot of crap information out there, and we never know what's right. And the fitness companies, the YouTube companies, so they want us to keep struggling. So we buy their programs, we buy their supplements, we buy their products, and so it's not your fault that you're struggling with this. And so I'm proud of you for being on this journey. And so yeah, and so just some frequently asked questions, right, that we get a lot is, one, can you drink? No, if you want, you can drink. Yeah, I view fitness as like fitness should enhance our lives, but it shouldn't be our lives. Like we can still have a social life. And so this doesn't mean that we can get drunk all the time, though. This just means that we can fit it into our life strategically. So if I know that I'm having a social night, then I'll work out earlier in the day, so that way I won't mess up my next day, right? Like I won't mess up my workout the next day. If I know I'm going to be eating that night, then I'll cut down my calories earlier in the day. And so it's just basically just accommodating for it, understanding that alcohol has calories too. So if I have like 3 drinks, each one of those is approximately 100, 100, 150. So about, let's say, 500 calories. So I can just account for those calories in my daily budget. Same thing for weddings and vacations and stuff. You can save up your calories for those. events. Oh, I'm losing my voice too. Is fasting unhealthy? No. So, fasting is how our ancestors lived. It's an ancient spiritual practice that's pretty much almost every major religion uses it, and it's been used to cure disease. And so, we've just forgotten about it in our modern corporate McDonald's loving world and become conditioned to eating 3 meals per day. Another question I get a lot is, can we eat junk food and lose weight? Yes. Should we? No. So our diet should be primarily whole foods and unprocessed foods. So not only for the health benefits of not having preservatives, but just for like a health reason or just for a weight loss reason, these whole foods, they are more filling for our bodies and our systems. So because they're more filling for our bodies, then they keep us full longer. If they keep us full longer, then we don't crave as much, so we don't lose weight. So we eat less and then we lose weight. And plus, even for better like health reasons, right? Healthy foods, they have more micronutrients for our bodies. Um, and eating shitty food worsens our gym performance compared to eating good foods. So my rule has always been the 80-20 rule, where if we keep 80% of our diet clean, then we can enjoy that 20% without guilt. For me personally, dessert is my weakness. I love dessert. I have to have it with every meal. And so this lets me have dessert with every meal without feeling guilty for it. So next question is, do we need to count calories? And now I don't count calories anymore, but it was very helpful for the first bit, like the first couple years. You don't have to do it for that long, but just getting a hang of it and being able to eyeball some specific foods and being able to guesstimate how many calories they have, what I have found to be very helpful. And another question is that, isn't calorie counting restrictive? So a lot of people say that calorie counting is restrictive, but I actually think the opposite. I think it's freeing. Like imagine if you had $2,000 to spend on something, right? And because you know that you have $2,000, you you can spend it on whatever you want to and still be in your budget. Whereas if you didn't know what your budget was and you're trying to book a vacation, you might be worried that, oh, I might go over this budget. So it's the same thing with calories, is that if you know how much you have to consume, then you can fit everything you want to in that budget and know that you'll still meet your goals. Another common question people have is about supplements. And in my opinion, I think supplements are grossly overrated. They just get hyped a lot because they promise easy results without any work. And like that's it. The others might do like 5%, or creatine and like protein powder are the only supplements I think are worth using. That's it. Like others are complete, like so minuscule, like maybe 1% benefit, that unless you're like a serious bodybuilder power lifter, like I don't see the point of those. The fundamentals are the calories, the training, and the sleep. Like that's the fundamentals. Even pre-workout, like I stopped taking pre-workout because you I found that I developed a tolerance to it, and like you take a scoop and like nothing happens. So it's like, what's the point of even taking it then? And plus it can worsen your sleep too, so it's never been worth it for me. Another question is that, can vegetarians or vegans do this? So yes. So I was a vegetarian for 2 whole years. Didn't touch a single plate of meat. A couple years ago. It is harder. I will acknowledge, especially when you go out. But as long as you keep track of your protein, then that's the most helpful thing. Like even now, like my diet is 90% vegetarian, and I'm able to do just fine because I'm aware of how much protein I'm getting in per day. So yeah, yeah. And so if you have any questions, If this really appeals to you, I hope you got some value and information out of it. If you want to book your own, if you want to work with me one on one, then just feel free to schedule a consult on my website, and we can go from there. So talk soon.